Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Covert, and I am so pleased to have with me today composer Quinn Mason. Quinn, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, and we are so excited to be performing your piece, Reflections on a Memorial, in our upcoming concert. And we thought that we would take a little bit of time to get to know Quinn Mason, the composer, and Quinn Mason, the person, so we could have better insight to your work and to all of the things that you're doing. So, why don't we start off with let's talk a little bit about the piece. So, we're playing Reflections on a Memorial. What was the inspiration behind this piece?
Well, the piece was commissioned uh, last year for a concert remembering victims of racial violence. So it was a very timely commission that I was very interested to work on because I really had the chance to put my thoughts about those recent events, those then recent events into music. So I wrote that piece. And I found that when I finished the piece that it it could easily apply itself to a wide variety of situations, um, as well as remembering like tragic events, as well as people who are no longer with us. So much so that uh, the piece has been performed in a variety of situations. The most recent one upcoming is for a September 11th memorial. So it's one of those pieces that has a wide variety of like applications, much like the George Walker lyric for strings or the Samuel Barber Adagio for strings. It's in that vein, although I wasn't referencing those pieces when I composed this one.
Hmm. What do you love about it? What do you love about this piece?
To me, this is one of those pieces that rarely, because whenever I finish a piece, I rarely like how it turns out on the first try. This one somehow came out fully formed and worked as is, with little revision on my part. So I really like how the piece kind of develops itself over time. It's more organic than anything, which means the piece is a living thing. And like I said, that's really rare in my output. So I'm very surprised that it came together like that.
Hmm. How do you feel when a piece of yours is performed and received in such a way and sort of really expanded upon the way that you wrote it, much like this piece? I mean, what does that feel like to you as a composer?
Well, it makes me feel like I've done my job because my job is to write music that connects with people because I like to listen to music that connects with me. Although I have a wide variety of tastes, there are a variety of uh, pieces of music across a lot of genres that connect with me. And whenever I make that approach with my own music, because I do realize if people can connect to a piece, they'll want to hear it again. And that's why I'm fortunate that this reflection on the memorial has been done at least 5 times around the United States and has connected with a wide variety of audiences. So it definitely makes me feel like I've done my job.
Well, so and that leads us to an interesting question. How did you find classical music? Like, what was that avenue that brought you into this place of being a musician and a composer?
Well, when I was younger, I listened to the radio a lot, and I mostly listened to the classical station because I like the wide variety of instrumental music they played, and occasionally vocal music, mostly instrumental music, and it was quite interesting the stuff they played. So I had my first exposure to classical music through public radio, and then subsequently in elementary school, took a required piano class. Sometime after that, took cello lessons and then started composition around that same time. So this would have been when I was like 10, 11.
Hmm.
And so that's how long I've been composing music. And I'm 25 now, so I feel like I've been doing it my entire life. But that's how I got started.
Right, right. So, as a Black man, I imagine that it's really important to you to be an example for other Black men and women and children to look up to say, "Hey, I can do that too." Is that something that plays into your music or even sort of how you are in the world?
Well, that approach is how I go about sharing music because I realize that outreach and starting like exposing younger people to classical music is very important because I know that for a fact because that's how I got interested in classical music. I went to a Dallas Symphony concert on a school field trip when I was 10 years old and saw Sting there with Peter and the Wolf. And I do realize that if I probably never took that field trip, I probably wouldn't be here today. So, but setting an example for the next generation of concert goers is very important, especially since classical music audiences are shrinking. We want to focus on building that new audience base of listeners and starting basically kind of spreading that love of music to younger people, whether it be young black men or girls or boys or anyone, because we have to focus on building the audience of the future, which I imagine I can see very, very diverse in all colors and creeds. It doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter who they are. But I'm definitely envisioning the audience of the future as people of all backgrounds coming together to enjoy this immortal classical music, and especially the classical music that's being written today. And that's why engagement with living composers, such as myself, such as some of my colleagues, are very important. So outreach is for all backgrounds is very important to me, I feel.
Mhm. I love that. And I think that just honoring the diversity even in Syracuse where we're based in our communities and saying all are welcome here. There are no barriers to enjoying good music and we want everyone to feel welcome and invited. And I'm so glad that that's part of your mission too because it is important. And I'm curious in your process, you hear stories about composers of the past who would go, like Beethoven would go for a long walk when he was composing something. What is your process as a composer? What do you have to do to find that creative flow to write something new?
Well, I must first know what I'm writing for. So if I have a set instrumentation, if I have a set length of piece, if I have a set subject I'm writing about, I have to get in the zone of that subject. Specific. So, I mean, looking back to an example like this piece that we're going to hear, "Reflection on a Memorial." That piece was written after all of the riots and all of the terrible events of last summer. And I'm a deep thinker. I'm very introverted and introspective. And I think about these things a lot. And I was just looking for a chance to put my thoughts in the music. And basically, Reflection on Memorial is my thoughts. It starts off very heavy, very like sad, almost like the Tchaikovsky Pathetique. It gets a little bit hopeful in the middle of the piece as we begin to build towards that light infused climax. But then the solo cello comes back and reprises the theme you hear at the very beginning. And we kind of fade out from there. And it's basically me going, okay, we've seen all of this that has happened, but it's still not over. And basically, really didn't have to put myself into that mindset. I had just been seeing all of this, and I just been kind of digesting it, and was basically put my thoughts on paper with that piece. And with any piece, it all depends on what I'm writing, and how I want to write it. But I mean, I've tried several methods. I don't think I've ever tried the walk thing, although one of my now deceased mentors, David Maslanka, said it was very important to walk because that's how he got his ideas. So I tried the walking thing, and I've had some ideas come to me for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mostly just having a vision of the piece that I want to write, and just putting that on the paper.
Mm-hmm. Well, Quinn, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for writing this music that's so deeply thoughtful. that gives us opportunities as musicians and as audience members and as listeners to really dig into how we're feeling about certain things. And the music really creates that atmosphere to allow us to do that. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. And we cannot wait to hear your piece, Reflection on a Memorial.
Thank you again for having me.
Of course.